we begin with breaking news. In just the last few minutes, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has announced that Germany will suspend arms deliveries to Israel, weapons that could be used in the Gaza Strip. Now, this is a significant announcement. Germany is the second largest supplier of weapons to Israel. The Chancellor said that he is deeply concerned about the continued suffering of Palestinians and said the release of the Israeli hostages and negotiations for a ceasefire are Germany's top priorities. He goes on to say in a statement, under these circumstances, the German government will not approve any exports of military equipment that could be used in the Gaza Strip until further notice. All right, joining me here in the studio now is our political correspondent, Matthew Morse. Matthew, talk to me about just how significant this decision is.
Yeah, it's very significant. This is about the German government sending a message to Israel that it has crossed a line. In the statement that we just got in the last hour, it says that the even tougher military action by the Israeli army in the Gaza Strip, which was decided last night, makes it increasingly difficult for the German government to see how these aims can be achieved, these aims, ceasefire, release of the hostages in the Gaza Strip. It's hugely significant, Brent. In May, the new Conservative-led government said it would review which weapons it was sending to Israel because it's of concerns that these weapons were being used in systematic breaches of international law. We now know that they are going to bring a stop to any weapons that could be used in the Gaza Strip. This includes things like armoured vehicle personnel carriers. Germany delivers a lot of those. It's worth just bearing in mind, so since October 7th, since the Hamas attack on October 7th, Germany has delivered some $550 million worth of weapons.
Which is significant.
Significant.
Yeah.
That has slowed right down, it has to be said, in the past year, to the point that there was criticism from people on the right in Germany who were allies of Israel, saying to the government, why are you stopping deliveries to Israel? And now, though, we have this confirmation now that they will be stopping the delivery of any arms and weapons that can be used in the Gaza Strip.
And why now? What do you make of the timing of this?
In recent weeks, there's been growing pressure on the government with the French and the British government's decisions to recognise, if not now, at some point in the future, a Palestinian state. That has put immense pressure on the new Chancellor, Friedrich Merz. Also, the humanitarian situation in Gaza with the starvation that is taking place there, that has contributed to that as well. So there's been huge pressure. The German government is not willing to go as far as recognising a Palestinian state, but has been promising, has been saying to the Netanyahu government, you must do more. And it seems to me that this is a recognition that they don't feel like they're being heard by the Netanyahu government. The other aspect to this, Brent, is the public opinion here in Germany. A new poll came out yesterday which showed that 66% of people here in Germany want the government to put more pressure on Israel. So clearly they don't think they're putting enough. That is to help the situation in Gaza. And Germany has this decades-long, or since the Angela Merkel era, idea of a kind of an allyship, a staunch support of Israel, that it is a reason of German state to protect Israel's right to exist. And that's quite interesting that only 33% of people in Germany agree with that.
I was going to say, picking up on that, so is this an identity crisis then maybe for the political establishment here in Berlin and not so much for the majority of Germans?
Huge pressure, because Friedrich Merz, the Chancellor, criticised the previous Chancellor for not supporting Israel enough. Right. And then you have him here issuing quite public criticism of the Israeli government, saying, look, we don't understand what you're trying to achieve there. And then the second aspect to it is that he's now going to come under pressure from his own party, with people who think that he is not supporting Israel enough in its efforts to combat the terror group Hamas. So he's going to come under pressure, but at the same time, as I say, public opinion is very much expecting Germany to stand up to Israel.
Let me ask you just before we go to Jerusalem, what do you think this is going to mean for the German-Israeli relationship moving forward?
It's going to put strain on that relationship going forward. But it's interesting that, you know, we have this statement today that Germany is going to stop weapons exports that can be used in the Gaza Strip, but Germany also is on the other side of this coin, buys a lot of military equipment from Israel. So it's a two-way street. It will be interesting to see how it develops going forward.
Okay, Matthew, thank you very much. Our coverage continues. Now we want to go to Jerusalem and speak with our correspondent there, Emily Gordine. Emily, there you are. In Germany, this is obviously a big story, but I'm wondering where you are, how big is it and how much weight does this decision really carry?
Well, I mean, if you look at the numbers, then between 2013 and 2023, about 30% of all major weapons transfers to Israel came from Germany. When you look at the bigger picture, though, over 65% came from the US. So Germany matters, especially because it does deliver quite a lot of artillery shells that are being used in Gaza to Israel. But the Americans matter more here. I think overall this carries more symbolic weight in the sense that Germany is telling the Israeli government, stop here, this is a red line for us. Germany in general in Israel is seen as a very important ally and as a close friend of Israel. But what I can also say from speaking with the Israelis over the past year is that many Israelis who, especially those who want this war to end, have been calling on friends of Israel, on Germany specifically, to put pressure on their government to end this war. And so they certainly will be welcoming this move by the German government.
Yeah, and this decision by the German government certainly would not have come lightly or easily. I mean, it comes after the Israeli Security Cabinet approved plans to occupy Gaza City. What does this mean for Gaza and Gazans?
Well, for Gaza City, this means that tens of thousands of Palestinians will be forced to leave their homes. It will lead to mass displacement once again. It will also disrupt efforts to provide vital humanitarian aid to people who need it desperately. This, as experts are warning, that famine is unfolding in the Gaza Strip. It will also likely endanger the lives of the remaining living hostages, the remaining living Israeli hostages being held in Gaza by Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Some of them are believed to be held in Gaza City, for example, and with the advancement of the Israeli military, there is a fear that this will also then lead to their death. Now, it does seem that this falls somewhat short of what the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said in his interview with Fox News yesterday about his intention to fully occupy Gaza, but this can also still come at a later stage. And the IDF itself says that it does now control about 75% of the Gaza Strip. The UN disagrees slightly. They estimate that the IDF controls over about 87%. That gives the 2 million Gazans who still live in the territory about 12% of the territory to actually stay in. So it will likely exacerbate the humanitarian situation there. This operation is intended to eliminate Hamas even further. That being said, there is not much left in Gaza of Hamas. The IDF is now fighting on a sort of with guerrilla forces essentially. And there are big questions over whether the Israeli military as such can fight a guerrilla force in military terms. The operation itself will also not happen overnight. It will take time for the IDF to call up reservist forces, putting troops together, deploying them and allowing civilians to leave. And many experts in Israel essentially see this move as a way of putting pressure on the negotiations, on putting pressure on Hamas to make certain concessions to get the negotiations to move forward.
And Emily, we want to reiterate here that 50 hostages are reportedly still in Gaza. Some of the former hostages are calling for protests today. Is the criticism of the government, is it gaining momentum? I mean, are these events that we're seeing in the last few hours, are they changing the public temperature in Israel?
Well, the hostage families are, of course, extremely worried. Yesterday, they were protesting in front of the cabinet, where the cabinet session was being held, and they put out a statement saying that, quote, escalating the fighting is a death sentence and immediate disappearance for our loved ones. It continued with, quote, this is the time, put a comprehensive deal on the table that will bring them all back together, all 50 hostages. The mood in Israel for many months now has been that the majority of Israelis want this war to end. They are willing to put a stop to this war, if that means all of the hostages are released. And they've been getting more and more support also from civil society. We saw a letter this week with hundreds of artists that also called for the end of the war. Last week we had over 600 former security and military officials write to US President Donald Trump to pressure Israel to end this war, because they believe that their own government is not listening to their expertise. Many of them have even served in Gaza, but they believe that the only person who can really sway the government's position is the US president. And that's also causing a lot of frustration among ordinary Israelis who have been going to the streets, especially, of course, to the hostage families who feel abandoned, really, by their own government at this point.
GW's Emily Gourdine with the latest in Jerusalem with this breaking news. Emily, thank you.